Hello and welcome to our continuing coverage of the verdict 2014. The Modi wave has swept India and the BJP has achieved mission 272 and achieved it comfortably. Narendra Modi is all set to be anointed Prime Minister of the first majority government after 1984. On the other hand, it is the worst performance for the Congress party in its history. The Grand Old Party has seen a rout across the country, failing to cross even the 50-seat mark. The electorate has also trimmed the stature of regional heavyweights like Mulayam Singh Yadav, Mayawati and Nitish Kumar, but Jayalalitha and Mamata Banerjee have managed to hold their own. To discuss the outcome of the general elections and the road ahead, I have with me N.K. Singh of the BJP, Rajya Sabha MP Rajiv Chandrasekhar, who supported Narendra Modi and his campaign, AAP spokesperson Reena Gupta, political analyst with our sister channel CNN IVN, Veera Raghav. In a short while from now, we will be joined by spokespersons from the Congress Party, from the Biju Janata Dal and the TMC. Gentlemen, appreciate you joining us here. And Reena, thanks very much for joining us on CNBC TV 18. N.K. Singh, let me start by asking you, most polls directionally were in favor of the NDA, were in favor of the BJP. Some even went as far as to suggest that the NDA tally would be higher than 300. But this kind of a convincing, overwhelming mandate, were you surprised? Are you surprised by the numbers?
Well, very frankly, two things. One man who understood this very strong undercurrent was Shri Narendra Modi himself. Because every press question that are you likely to seek the support of others to be able to have a grander coalition, he used to say, the people of this country are sagacious enough to give me a decisive mandate. Mr. Narendra Modi had understood the undercurrent and the pulse much better, perhaps, than any of the analysts. Second, as far as I'm personally, as far as you ask my experience, in some of the campaigns which I did in Bihar, I went to Amritsar, it was very evident that the people were in search and in quest of a change, a decisive change, a strong and stable government, which they felt only Narendra Modi could give. So I think a combination of this really has...
Mr. Singh, let me interrupt you because you mentioned two particular states there. One, you mentioned the state of Bihar, and the other you talked specifically about Amritsar, where Arun Jaitley of the BJP has lost out to Amrinder Singh of the Congress party. If Narendra Modi was such a big factor, why then have we actually seen Mr. Jaitley losing out to Amrinder Singh? Because then it brings to fore the issue of local politics, local caste factors and so on and so forth. And similarly, as far as the state of Bihar is concerned, if this election was fought on the issues of economic reform, aspiration, development, then you cannot take away from the fact that Nitish Kumar's development agenda did work. You've written a book about Nitish Kumar's development economics yourself, Mr. Singh. So is it naive then to assume that political identity is decoupled in that sense in an Indian election?
Well, let me say this, that I think that the people of Bihar give them the credit that whereas they recognize Mr. Nitish Kumar's development, some of the gains which have been made in law and order in terms of roads and infrastructure, they were sagacious enough to understand that once he broke off with the BJP on the 17th of June 2013, there's a marked deterioration in the development initiatives. Law and order took a beating. Development priority took a beating. Nitish Kumar began to handle 18 portfolios. They recognized that what was the unique point of the leadership of Nitish Kumar, that the progress was an NDA government-led progress. It was collective political leadership of the NDA, of which no doubt Mr. Nitish Kumar was a leader, and that therefore this took such a heavy beating that they recognized that there was need to change, and Mr. Narendra Modi was able to strike a development chord which cut across caste identities in a very significant way. I mean, the kind of speeches which he made, for instance, in many North Bihar constituencies, he went so far as to say that Bihar and Eastern India require a decisive change, and I think that cut across all caste divides, that cut across identities of a narrower kind, and therefore you see the spectacular kind of outcome of that election.
Well, that certainly seems to be borne out by the numbers that Bihar is thrown out. But let me bring Derek O'Brien of the TMC into this conversation. Derek, congratulations for the kind of win that you've been able to pull off in West Bengal. can I ask you this? Is the BJP more of a threat to you in Bengal now than the left, which has been decimated in your state?
It's a long campaign. It's been a 2-month campaign. We've done exceedingly well. The people of Bengal have responded to the development we've done in this state. We've been working hard for 3 years, getting this development agenda. The media haven't bothered to write about the development agenda because most of the media has their eyes shut when it comes to Bengal. But the people of Bengal have responded. We've got a great result today, 34 out of 42 seats. So please let us savor this evening. What we will do tomorrow, who we will take on tomorrow, day after, all of it can wait.
I'm going to let you savor the victory for today, Derek, and even after that. But my very quick question to you is that do you believe that the threat of the BJP is much more significant today than it was earlier? And do you believe that in Bengal now, they're the real threat and not the left for the TMC?
What threat are you talking about? Please take a look at the vote share in Bengal of the Trinamool Congress. We are 40 plus is our vote share. Okay, the left may have got 2 seats. Their percentage of the vote is still higher than the BJP. So let's quickly not get carried away with all these assumptions. In any case, it's a race for the wooden spoon. If one party has got 2 and the other has got 2, that's 2 and 2, 4. We got 34. So we know what we've done. And that's an issue for the opposition space. Of course, I will concede that. There is an opposition space in Bengal. And may the left, the Congress and the BJP all battle for that opposition space.
Derek O'Brien, let me ask you this. Narendra Modi has been pitching this idea of economic federalism, talking about this PM-CM team. We've seen the kind of campaign that Mamata Banerjee has run in West Bengal ahead of this election. We've seen Narendra Modi taking on Mamata Banerjee's allegations and charges as well. Would it be safe to assume now that perhaps we could see the TMC and the BJP kiss and make up?
We are fighting. We fought a very difficult campaign for 2 months. The only people who we really, if not want to go and kiss, is hug as a token of our thanks, is the people of Bengal for giving us this overwhelming verdict. So that's the last thing on our minds now. We really want to focus on today, make this a happy day, because Shereen, we have fought a very, very tough campaign. This is not a usual campaign. We won a big election against the left. Today you saw we beat them in chapter 1. Today they were cleaned out. The BJP got 2 seats in Bengal. The left got 2 seats. It's a very, very difficult campaign. So today we don't want to speak about anything else except savoring this moment and carrying on with the development work we did in Bengal. And I can assure you that the people of Bengal responded to that model of development. We need to get that across to more people across this country.
Derek, my final question to you before I let you go. We are going to see the next session of Parliament kickstart, and the BJP on its own has crossed Mission 272. So in that sense, there is no weight of coalition pressures on the BJP to try and push forward key reforms. Do you now believe that we are going to see much more bold, decisive decision-making when it comes to FDI-related matters, when it comes to deregulation? What are you anticipating?
Shireen, I'm not the BJP spokesperson, nor am I the government spokesperson.
What are you anticipating?
So I'm afraid we are very clear in our manifesto. We are very clear in our manifesto. We don't flip and flop in our manifesto. We are opposed to FDI and retail. We shall continue to be opposed to FDI and retail.
One commonality between you and the BJP.
No, BJP is wishy-washy. We don't know whether they are opposed or not, or whether they'll roll back. Okay, we believe in women's reservation, so let them bring the bill for 33% women's reservation. All these we'll discuss later. Trinamool Congress, very clear. We put out a manifesto in 2009. After that, we won again in 2011. We put out the manifesto now for our 3 years of good work. We've got a thumping majority. So we're going to continue to do things we're doing now, because I think that is what the people want, and that's where we're getting these rewards. Thank you, Shereen, for having me on your show. And
Right, Derek, thank you very much for joining us here on CNBC TV 18. Congratulations once again to you and the team at TMC. That's Derek O'Brien of the Trinamool Congress. Also joining us now from the Congress Party, the spokesperson. Priyanka, appreciate you joining us here on CNBC TV 18. I don't envy your job this evening, but at the end of the day, I know everyone's talking about introspection. Rahul Gandhi and Sonia Gandhi have said that they come and accept responsibility for the defeat, but the Congress, as the verdict shows, has gotten 2014 all wrong.
No, we do accept the verdict that has the results that have come out today. Having said that, yes, a lot of introspection is needed, and a lot of changes need to be done, and we need to find out the reasons where we went wrong. All I would like to say, though I have
Priyanka, I'm sorry I'm interrupting you. You talked about changes, and I know I'm pushing you into a corner by asking you this, but will those changes also mean changes of leadership? Because clearly the leadership at the top has not worked effectively, and that's evident. This is the worst performance that the Congress Party has seen ever.
No, we need to understand something here. Not every time we talk about changes does not necessarily mean that you need to change leadership to bring in some changes here. We need to, there is a place for course correction, and we need to correct our course. We have steered away from a couple of things, and the results have shown that we have failed at some point with some issues, which we need to address. Once we have that in order, I'm very certain that we'll come back much stronger.
Okay, when you come back much stronger is a different question, but let me ask you this, because it seems fairly evident that the Congress strategy, whether it was on the economy, whether it was in terms of communication, selling what you had done, marketing, I mean, it's failed on all parameters. Do you believe that this idea of trying to push welfare economics down people's throat, you forgot about aspirations, you forgot about trying to lift people's aspirations, and this move towards welfare economics has cost the Congress dearly?
No, there are many factors. I would say whether it's a communication, whether it's being able to effectively communicate and reach out to people, whether it was giving so much leeway to a campaign which was thrust on us by the opposition and failing to, counter them aggressively. So there are a few factors, and the one that you also listing could be one of them. We need to seriously introspect as to reasons why we got the results that we saw today. So being very honest, very candid, that a lot of introspection is needed, and there is always place for course correction, which we need to do on a priority basis.
It is going to have to be a serious course correction. Priyanka, I'll come back to you. Rajiv Chandrasekhar joins us as well. Rajiv, you were on my program a couple of days ago when we were talking about the post-poll survey that had been done, and you said that Karnataka will throw up a surprise and Karnataka will go the BJP route as well, and that's exactly what the numbers threw up. So congratulations on getting that right.
Thank you.
So Rajiv, what now from here? Better days ahead is the hope and the dream that Narendra Modi is selling to the people. But give me a sense of what you expect to see happen immediately. Give me a 1 month, 3 month and 6 month agenda, bucket list of what you would like to see this government move on, because expectations are running high.
Shereen, the way I mean, obviously I'm not privy to the thinking within the BJP leadership and of course Mr. Modi, soon to be Prime Minister Modi. But sitting as you are, as an audience to what will happen, I would expect first of all to see a very tight, united, cohesive cabinet being announced soon. I would expect leading up to the budget in June, which would be, I think, the most important policy statement from the government, at least 1 or 2 pretty clear statements from him in terms of specifically reviving investor sentiment and boosting the economy on one hand, and secondly the whole issue of inflation. I think if there is a roadmap that needs to be drawn, it would be a good cabinet, a credible cabinet that's been formed, that is high on talent and execution, and then a couple of policy statements from the government relating to both, like I said, investor sentiment and private capital flows into the economy, and the other important issue of inflation management. And of course, then you have
I'll come back to that in just a second, but let me pick up on one of the issues that you talked about, and that is cabinet formation. You expect that a good, credible cabinet will, in that sense, send out the right signals to investors. N.K. Singh, now member of the BJP, Rajnath Singh in his press conference today has said that cabinet formation will be the prerogative of the Prime Minister, and that is Narendra Modi. Do you believe that we could perhaps see some bold, out-of-the-box thinking, even as far as cabinet formation is concerned? Could there be the possibility of outsiders, of technocrats being brought in to cabinet? What is your own sense?
My sense is these are entirely, not sense, my experience tells me, along with my sense, that these are entirely the prerogative of the Prime Minister. These are entirely something which he will consider appropriate given the circumstances of the economy, given the need to revive, as Rajiv rightly points out, the investor sentiment, and given the need to put India back on what is perceived by investors, both in India and all over the world, a much higher growth trajectory. But just to add an additional dimension to what Rajiv said, yes, the budget will be a very important statement of government's economic policy, but we all know this is preceded by another very important announcement or an important policy. That is the address of the President to joint session of Parliament. That articulates the medium-term agenda of the government for the next 5 years. So the first insight into this government's thinking for a medium term will come in the joint address of the President.
That's going to be interesting. Pranab Mukherjee addressing a joint session of Parliament, with a BJP-led government at the centre. That is going to be interesting. N.K. Singh.
But Shereen, not to be, that speech is written by, my experience tells me, that speech is written in the Prime Minister's office, vetted by the Prime Minister, then approved by the Cabinet, and then sent to the President for his approval. So it has a huge input of the government in the draft which is sent to the Rashtrapati Bhavan, and presidents usually make some changes but do not alter the basic spirit or thrust, because the statement of the President is basically the statement of the government's intention, because he says, my government intends to do the following in the course of it.
I was merely pointing out the irony in this. Rajiv Chandrasekhar here was a prime ministerial hopeful. Pranab Mukherjee could have been the Prime Minister of the Congress Party had Sonia Gandhi not decided to go the Manmohan Singh route, and he is going to be now addressing a joint session of Parliament, reading out a speech and a mandate of the Bharatiya Janata Party.
Yes, I think, Shereen, we are in a brand new world. I think the conventional wisdom and conventional politics is being turned on its head. A lot of the so-called Delhi establishment are going to get used to the fact that there is a newcomer and a new sheriff in town who is going to basically set a completely new course for this country. So I think, yes, I think that is ironical, and a lot of people will just start having to get used to the fact that there is a new outsider in town leading a government.
Veera Raghav, let me come to you, because you know the new sheriff in town. You've tracked politics in Gujarat. When it comes to issues like cabinet formation, and we've heard a lot of this business about RSS leaders being camped in Delhi and they're going to exert a certain amount of pressure. At the end of the day, is it going to be Narendra Modi calling the shots as far as who gets what?
I think ultimately it's going to be that. If you had a Modi at 240 in BJP, it's different from a Modi at 272 past. 280 past. Now, he's proved himself, and I don't think anyone has the ability or the stature at the moment to stand up to him, at least not at the moment. But having said that, if you look at Modi's style of politics, this is a very Gujarati trait in the sense that he is businesslike. He's a mix of this a leader who likes to be decisive and authoritarian at that political level. But as an administrator, I would believe that the bureaucrats would control the show and not the politicians. That's Modi's trait.
So do you see him importing a lot of the bureaucracy from Gujarat?
I would believe that from across the country, you will see a lot of bureaucrats moving into Delhi. You will see a new setup. But Shereen, one of the most important things, and I think we need to understand this, is that since '84, any governmental issue and policy issue has been blamed on coalition if the government cannot pass it through. This time, he has nobody to blame.
Absolutely.
He has to take those tough decisions, and I believe he will take those tough decisions because it goes with his image. But those decisions decisions will be taken by the bureaucrats in consultation with the Prime Minister. So in a sense, the rest of the politicians will have to be finding their way around in the cabinet. And we'll see how it works out. Delhi is a different a different place than Gujarat.
Oh, absolutely. Delhi is a very different place from Gujarat. But Rajiv, I want to get both you and NK Singh to quickly finish that argument as far as what we can expect in terms of immediate economic levers that they could pull. And you talked about measures for reviving growth and measures to tame inflation. I've been having conversations with people who seem to suggest that as far as inflation is concerned, while the BJP might like the Reserve Bank to cut interest rates at this point in time, it seems highly unlikely that Raghuram Rajan will oblige. So give me two specifics on the inflation front and on reviving growth. I'll start with you, Rajiv.
Shereen, can I just, I want to say one other thing, which is to do with the Congress spokesperson's view on what failed in the Congress, and this has some bearing on, I think, what the new government will do. There is an interesting point here that needs to be focused on. The Congress campaign was heavily based on this whole narrative of entitlements and the legislation of rights that they said was pro-poor. Now, one of the things that this result tells you, given the success in UP and in Bihar, that entire populations of people who are so-called poor have rejected that so-called politics of entitlements and, the so-called legislation of rights to food and etc., etc. And the second thing you must understand is that there was in the Congress narrative a denial of the corruption scams pretty much throughout. And that again has been, in a sense, negative by the voter. Now, these two are, in a sense, an input into the new government, that the economic policies have to do less with saying, more and more subsidies and more entitlements, and it's going to have to address more and more the aspirations of individual families and voters through the country. So that I just wanted to make that point, because the spokesperson said this is about course correction. I don't think this is about course correction. This is completely a rejection of an economic ideology and an economic vision that the people of Bihar and UP, who are so-called targets for this economic philosophy, have shown. Now, having said that,
just one second, Rajiv. Let me just get an NK Singh into this conversation as well. How easy is it going to be for the BJP to pull back on the welfare schemes, to start pruning these schemes, to pull back expenditure on the welfare schemes? Because, once this genie is out of the bottle, it's very hard to put it back.
Well, I think that, let me say that first and foremost, I agree with Rajiv that a particular kind of welfare economics, which no other country in the world has practiced, no other country with the per capita income which India has followed this kind of an entitlement, legally driven welfareism. And this is a new species, or a new kind of a gene which the Congress let out. So let me say that what has this led to, Shereen? This has led, has been an important contributor factor in slowing down our growth rate from what was 8.5% to what is now sub 5%. Now, 1 percentage point of reduction in growth rate leads, on the back of an envelope calculation, to 10 million lost jobs. One of the things, when we talk of an aspirational society, one of the things which excited an average youth in Bihar and UP was the prospect that the government of Narendra Modi will give him jobs. Jobs will come from growth. But if growth has been tardy, if growth has slowed down on account of this entitlement-driven welfareism, that's something with the government, with this government, would have to have a second look at. Now, what is possible? You asked me that question. It's difficult to enact laws. It's even more difficult to repeal laws. And I think that the most important thing which needs to be done, in my view, to get growth off the ground are two things. First, I think, is to empower the executive. You do not need a new law. Over 8 lakh crore worth of projects are languishing because of governance paralysis, which has been followed, dilatoriness in decision-making, regulatory hurdles, various other hurdles of various kinds. Now, if you empower the executive by letting the executive know that bona fide decisions would be fully protected and would be fostered by the new government, you will get a new kind of energy a new kind of economic activity if this project
and that is the hope at this point in time. But let me bring in Reena Gupta of the Aam Aadmi Party into this conversation as well. Reena, appreciate you joining us. The Congress is talking about introspection and course correction. I'm sure the Aam Aadmi Party is also talking about introspection at this point in time. Do you believe now and do you acknowledge that the decision to pull out of the Delhi government at the end of 49 days was the worst thing that you could have done? Look at the performance in Delhi. You virtually handed it over to the BJP on a platter.
So, Shereen, yeah, I'll get into that question which you just asked, pulling out of Delhi. But, in the last information that I got, I think we've received around 1 crore votes. That roughly translates into 2% of vote share. And historically, if you look at debuts of BJP and BSP, they both, I think, managed to get 2 seats and 3 seats, and we are getting 4 seats in Punjab. So in that sense, our debut has not been so bad. And more than getting the seats, I think what has really been very, very exciting for us is that we have around 1 lakh volunteers all over the country. And Shereen, I've traveled through several states the past 2-3 months campaigning, and the kind of selfless devotion that I've seen in these volunteers for nation building and really...
Reena, don't get me wrong. I'm not suggesting even for a moment that what you've been able to pull off at the Aam Aadmi Party is not credit worthy. I think what the Aam Aadmi Party has done deserves credit. But the question I was asking you is, do you believe that the decision to pull out of Delhi has worked against the Aam Aadmi Party? Secondly, this business of Arvind Kejriwal versus Narendra Modi in Varanasi, somewhere did you lose sight of the goal, which is really of trying to clean up politics, which is trying to provide this country with a different kind of political discourse? It really became, once again, about personality.
Shereen, the decision to pull out of Delhi, we stand by that decision, but I don't think we communicated that decision properly. So the fact that we had won the Delhi election on promises of Swaraj and on promises of the Lokpal bill, and when we realized that we were not in a condition to be able to pass those bills, I think it was the right decision to pull out of Delhi, but we did not communicate that decision properly. And, our fight with Mr. Modi in Varanasi, Shereen, was a very symbolic fight. It was everything that, the crony capitalism and all the other issues that we've been raising. So our fight was against that fight, but definitely the result from Delhi has been disappointing, and we do need to introspect and really think that going forward, what are we going to do? But as we've been saying, we are in this fight for the long run, and we are in it for systemic changes. So no matter...
I understand that. I understand that you're in the fight for the long run. But Reena, you don't have much time as far as Delhi is concerned, because we anticipate that the elections will be called fairly swiftly, given what we've actually seen now as far as the election result is concerned. What do you do? What is the strategy going to be to try and reclaim Delhi?
But yes. But Shereen, if you see, the vote share in Delhi has actually gone up. Vote share is almost 33% in this Lok Sabha election also. But we've not managed to win any seats. So we really need to, of course, think and rethink our strategy moving forward. How are we going to make sure that we manage to win seats in the upcoming Vidhan Sabha elections in Delhi? And I do hope that those elections happen soon enough, because what is happening right now is really not the right thing. That no decision has been made by the LG. The Vidhan Sabha needs to be dissolved, and elections need to be called for fairly soon.
Okay, Reena Gupta, we will take a quick commercial break. We haven't taken one in a long time, but when we come back, we will also talk about the kind of verdict that the South has thrown up. That and more when we return on our political discussion here on Election Exchange.